Anxiety, depression, opioids, alcohol, horse psychology. How I got here. Hello everybody. Welcome to Signposts for Living with Dr. Kirsten Hunter, and we have my dear friend Kim here. Hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
No worries.
Absolutely honoured.
Kim Daley, thank you for coming along.
That's all right. No, thanks very much.
I'm delighted you're here. We're going to have fun. So, everybody, I love horses. I grew up riding horses. Did you know that?
You did tell me that.
I've told you
Yes.
that. Have I?
Yes.
My favourite thing was to get a horse and to be fairly out of control and to go for a good old gallop, and then really wish I could have more control in trying to get it to stop galloping at the end of a very long paddock. But yeah, love horses. So we're going to end up on horses, everybody.
Yes.
That's where we're going to end up. But that's not where we're going to begin. No. We're actually going to talk about your, I hate to say the word, but journey. You say the word journey. What do you think?
I love the word journey.
Do you?
I like paths and journeys.
Paths and journey. They do get a bad rap, though. They get overused.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But it is, isn't it? It's a journey.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're going to talk about your history. Mm-hmm. We're going to go through opioids, alcohol, depression, anxiety, horse psychology. But the truth is, horses actually were at the beginning as well, weren't they?
They were, mate. So grew up with horses. So my grandfather's actually, he broke in horses for a living. My dad broke in horses for a living. So I'm third generation horse trainer.
Is there a more sexy word than horse trainer? Horse.
No,
Come on.
and I don't like the word horse trainer. I like equine educator.
Equine educator.
That applies to people and horses. So, and it's more what I'm doing with the people. So
there has to be a better word.
There
has to be something even better. I'm going to play with that.
Thank you. That'd be good. Let me know when you know.
Horse master craftsman? No, doesn't quite work.
No.
I'm going to work on it. Anyway, you grew up with horses. So you literally had like a property, horses.
Yep. So did the pony club thing.
Did you?
Competitions, all sorts. So that, we did that for, crikey's pony club was a big thing for us every weekend. And then we went into camp drafting and stock horse shows, and
it's a whole world, isn't it?
It is a whole world, yeah.
See, I was the kid who picked the instrument that you didn't have to carry. Therefore, I did choir. So I always thought pony club, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of effort.
And you can pack the instrument away. You don't have to feed the instrument at the end of the day.
It's really funny. Oh, am I lazy or practical?
Well,
anyway, you're into the pony club. I'm impressed.
Yes.
And we're gonna fast forward a bit through time.
Yes.
Let's do that.
So,
and let's start at what age?
So I left school quite early. So I left at the end of year 10 as a 16-year-old and entered the workforce. So I was pretty keen to get into it. Got my apprenticeship, and
as what?
Canvas goods manufacturer. So I'm a canvas maker by trade.
There you go.
Making truck tarps and covers for this and that, and caravan annexes and boat covers.
It's amazing where there's canvas.
There is. So,
who knew?
Who knew?
I don't mean to be sarcastic, but I genuinely haven't thought about it.
No, it is
before.
good. Yeah. So so that was my trade, and it was quite interesting. I think that's where my journey began with anxiety and depression. So there was, without me knowing it, I can look back now and go, wow, I was super anxious about everything as an apprentice, as about failing, as getting the job done right. The behaviours that I had, and the tension that I was under, putting myself under. I didn't realise it at the time.
Well, anxiety has a tendency to become a lifestyle.
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was the norm.
It is the norm. It's your framework. It's how you feel about yourself. It's how you feel about new experiences, performance. Am I going to fail at this?
Yeah.
And it just becomes typical to you, and it can slide in.
Normalised.
Normalised, yeah.
Yeah. Living in that sympathetic zone, in that high zone.
And you had some background issues that really kind of set you up to question your capacity. Won't go into it, but a bit going on in the background as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so not really in a position to launch forward with confidence.
No, exactly. Yeah, lots of questions.
Lots of am I okay?
Yep.
Let's just assume probably not. Probably not.
And thirst for external validation.
There you go.
So that was to be seen and heard, had to be 100% on target, doing it right. Perfectionist.
Okay, classic.
Yes.
Yeah, which is very much my sense of self equals achieving this to this perfect level, which you cannot achieve.
Yep.
So then you're perpetually failing.
Yep.
And that's a lot of pressure.
Attaching my self-worth to what I was doing, and that's the whole self-worth was just bound up in producing something or doing something.
Yeah.
Wasn't valuing my own worth just as a person.
So then you got to a point of somehow you built yourself to a position of having your own business.
Well, actually, I will just go back a little bit from there. I think halfway through my apprenticeship, I think it was before I met my now wife. So I think we were married for 19 years this year. But just before we met...
She's lovely, by the way, everybody.
Just before we met, I went through my first really serious bout of depression, and I did not know what it was.
Really?
So that would have been I'm 41, so that would have been 1999.
Yeah.
And that was... I put mechanisms in place for my first suicide attempt without people knowing.
Really?
At 19. So,
that is so scary.
So the physical. So you have the suicidal thoughts, which often happen in my depression on a regular basis. But then you get to next level, which is putting practical things in place for that suicide attempt. So that was the first one at 19.
So, in the psych world, we have suicidal contemplation.
Yes.
Suicidal ideation and suicidal planning.
Yes.
And you were at the planning stage.
Yes. Then.
That's very, very dangerous.
Yes. So I think I've done that 4 or 5 times in my 20 years now.
Oh, my heart hurts.
Yeah. It actually becomes normal.
Yeah.
That's how rubbish it's crap it is. That planning just becomes normal.
Yeah.
And actually, back in those days, I remember guys at work saying, "Oh, did you hear such and such committed suicide the other weekend?" And the workshop, the common language in the workshop was, "Wow, what a coward!" That was the view. What a coward! Why would you do that? And obviously, yes, you are creating a lot of heartache, but it's a total misconception about what happens within that zone. Your horse term, the blinkers go on. Mm-hmm. You can't see anything. You just see down that tunnel.
Well, it is tunnel. I get really, really furious when I hear people being judgmental towards people who are suicidal, because all it says is they have absolutely no idea of what they're talking about. If someone is in physical pain, 10 out of 10, day in, day out, constant, and then they say, kill me, I'm in so much pain, this is not quality of life, we say, of course you're feeling that way, of course you want to die.
Yep.
That is logical.
Yep.
That is not a way of living.
Coping mechanism.
Do we judge them?
Yeah.
No, we have empathy.
Yeah.
So when someone has psychological pain and it's 10 out of 10 and it's day in and it's day out and they say, I don't want to be here anymore, and then people respond with judgment rather than empathy, I say, I want to swear right now, can I? I don't know. But I get really furious because they show they don't comprehend the pain. And I get it. If you haven't had depression, I don't think you will understand that experience. No. But for someone to say, I don't want to be here anymore, that's information of how dark they're feeling. And for you to have gone there, that's pretty dark.
Yeah. Essentially, it's like anxiety, to me, it's a traumatizing thing to your brain, because the brain is on some sort of thought to thought, anxious thought to anxious thought, self-worth thought to this could happen, that could happen, or that happened, I could have done this. And that happens whole waking hours.
Yeah.
The whole waking hours.
Yeah.
And the escape, you just want to escape that. And that's...
It's like having a bully that's constantly in your face screaming at you, except it's you.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep, definitely.
Wow.
So that was the first one.
And can I say one more thing? When someone contemplates suicide, it then becomes a option. It becomes if I'm in that dark space, that is a tool that I can reach for. It becomes something that is an option in the future, a coping mechanism. And so if someone's contemplated suicide one time, the probability of them reaching for it in the future is dramatically higher, higher, which is also why when there's suicide in a community, there's an increased prevalence of suicide. It has a ripple effect because people think, oh, that's an option.
Yes.
Yeah. So I hear you when you say you had multiple contemplation in that area.
Yep. So it was quite interesting. I think...
It's quite interesting. It's gorgeous.
Fascinating.
Now it is.
So I think I tend to go through cycles through my life. Looking back now, you can go, right, that happened, and I can see. I know you probably get sick of me referring in our sessions about horses and how that relates to how this, and yes, I see that in the horses all the time.
I love that. I love that. It makes complete sense.
But that lead up, and essentially what I think. What we're going to get into, the addiction stuff and that anxiety and that depression, essentially, to me, a lot of the time it's lack of connection and social connection and connection with people. And I think that's what did turn around when I met Karen. She was my first real girlfriend, and then we got married. But that connection, I hadn't had that, and I think that really helped me out to progress forward.
Anchored you. Yeah.
Having said that, I think, here we go again, I can see this in the horses. From that time, we were busy in life when we first met to when we got married to when we started my business. I was one of those guys that always had something on the go. I'm talking busy. Yeah. I think we built 2 houses in 4 years, and we had kids early, so I've got 2 beautiful children. No, actually, I've got 6 beautiful children. I've got my son Josh, my daughter Sophie, and then I've got my miniature schnauzer Josie.
Okay.
And then I've got Priscilla, my beautiful mare, Elle, my other beautiful mare, and then Andy, my ex-thoroughbred, my ex-Rushells.
Your children do rate higher.
Yeah, I didn't name them off in order, didn't I?
I love it. Priscilla.
Yes.
Wow, I hope she's flamboyant.
She's got attitude.
Sassy.
She's sassy.
Minx.
Yes. It was and it was quite interesting that, everything was busy all the time.
Yeah, well, that is you. You're a very high energy person. I think of you as one of those Duracell bunnies.
Yeah.
Go.
But that's a coping mechanism in itself.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Sure.
And that's what I sort of medicating myself at the time. So I was so busy that I didn't have to deal with things that had happened earlier in life.
So what medicating are we talking about?
We're talking about just being busy.
Oh, so being busy was your
yes. I see
distraction
so many other guys that do this.
Yeah,
men are terrible for it. Bury your feelings. Get busy at work.
Yeah,
or busy doing something.
Hey, how are you? I'm very busy.
Yeah, flat out. Busy's not a feeling.
I'm flat out.
Yeah, that's because that's what happens. Everyone asks, "How you going?" No, busy.
Yeah, and implicit to that is I'm doing things that are worthwhile, that I can feel good within myself, that are validating, other people can see what I'm achieving. Yes. It's very reinforcing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks great on the outside. But, and then I flowed into starting small business. I think I was 26 when we first started our business. I think all up, I think we went for nearly 10 years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was a big thing. It was exciting too, but the same thing. So the roller coaster just pump, and I think our Christmas lead up to Christmas was always busy, and I remember doing. I think my best day was 22 hours in a day working.
That's really not good. That's not good. I hope you were sleeping on the job.
No, it was just flat chat.
That's
flat
crazy.
Chat. But I think I was doing the Red Bulls back then, to keep yourself going, all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, go.
But I think the first start with the opioids was probably 3 years in, and I'd had niggling injuries, like they weren't any actual sporting injuries. They were just, I felt like I was wearing out a little bit, like, I got a twinge in my hip or my back or my shoulders. And things seemed to get a little bit worse and worse. Like, you'd be plugging along flat out and then oh, God, that's hurt. And I was a guy that never took a Panadol, never took anything.
Yeah.
And one day...
Why?
I think I had a little niggle in my head that...
If I reach for this, I might keep going.
Yes.
Really?
I don't know why that was.
I think some people have a clue about themselves.
And that I'm talking, like, I remember that from being a 7 or 8 year old thinking that.
Right.
Yeah, I know there's other...
Everyone, I just frowned a lot.
Yeah.
Didn't I? I was like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in my life that I thought about that, like earlier on, and then stuff...
You would have been the most intriguing child.
Oh,
getting into your head. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't reach for Panadol, and then...
No, so a couple of years into the business when, I had that niggle and I remember... Because we had ski boats and we go skiing on the weekend, water skiing. And
do you know I single ski?
Do you?
Okay. Past tense.
Good
Past.
on you.
I don't think you can claim it after that many years have passed.
No.
Once I was skiing down the Brisbane River and a cow floated past with this massive bite in its gut.
Yeah, we used to get that all the time.
And I thought, that looks like a shark.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were bull sharks in the Brisbane River. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I skied my whole childhood, teenage years, swimming, because, you get dropped off because your friends just decide that's funny, with sharks. Never knew.
Get up real quick.
Did you know?
Yes, I did know.
Well, anyway, sorry. Back to the skiing.
Yeah, and I got back from a day of skiing and I said, Kaz, I think it was my hip, because I had hip dramas. And she said, take this. It was a Nurofen Plus, which is, I think, I know the math. So it's 12.5 milligrams of codeine and ibuprofen, 200 milligrams of ibuprofen.
There you go.
The reason why I know all that, because when we got up to big amounts when I was abusing the hell out of it, I had to do the calculations, how many I could have and all the rest of it. So anyway, took that, and for the first time, and I thought, oh my goodness. I felt this calm sensation, no pain. My thoughts weren't as rambled, and I was just like, things are so clear.
Quite like this.
Yeah. I think it went on from there to like just everyday use to the packaging, what it said.
So you're reaching for the codeine or the ibuprofen?
Codeine.
Right.
Yeah, obviously.
Sorry, stupid question.
No.
Well, I'm thinking, is your hip still hurting?
Yeah, well, actually on that, see, that's the tricky thing with opioids.
Yeah.
Is the body then tells you that you're in pain when you're probably not.
Really?
I know that for
Another
a fact.
big frown from Kirsty.
Yeah, so that's the trap. When you get hooked into it, there'll be pain there. And people might argue with me that, but I know that that's what's happening. The body's thirsting for it, and it tells you that you're in more pain than you are. Anyway, I started going to the doctor and said, I've got this trouble with my pain. So then you go down that track of x-rays and then prescribed medication. And I'd have to say that my GP wasn't super responsible about providing that in a safe way.
Yeah.
So the amounts went up rapidly.
A bit too generous.
Yeah, for sure.
Taking at face value what you were saying.
Yeah. And like with any opioid, you need more and more. So your resistance to it builds and builds.
How do you get opioid without a diagnosis on your hip? Do you get my point?
So
opioids hardcore.
Well, opioids. It's all codeine. When they used to sell Nurofen Plus, so codeine and ibuprofen, that's an opioid.
Okay.
So that was on the shelf until 4 years ago.
Yep.
They took that off the shelves for good reason. That was a really good thing that they did. But yeah, with a diagnosis, so you can still. I still know people that went in for back pain last week. A guy told me last week, and he went in there for back pain. Yes, you've done damage. Here's some medication. It's not very addictive. It's one of the least addictive ones, and it's called Tramadol.
Tramadol?
And
that is addictive.
It is addictive. So, and the reason why this happens is GPs are stuck in the middle. They've got reps from the drug companies that are saying, yes, this is less addictive. And that's what happened to OxyContin in America.
But, GPs have a tough gig, don't they?
They do.
They have people who come in with pain. Help me with the pain.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's get that
They're just in the middle, like poor buggers. They're really in the middle of things. And when you've got someone on the other side of the desk, I'd say with that.
So were you getting Panadine Fort?
I started off with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
which is a high dosage of codeine.
Codeine. So yeah. And then when
there's no cocaine on this show, by the way, guys. It's not where we're going. Just want to clarify.
And then expanded from there. I won't disclose how much I was taking, but it should kill someone really. So you can build up that much tolerance, and so
it didn't kill you because you built up the tolerance. Yeah,
and I knew sort of how much, but I was operating. So I think total on opioids was nearly 10 years.
Wow.
And I'm talking a lot.
A lot. And so was that like a scheme, breakfast, lunch, dinner? Yeah,
I'd do a good hit up in the morning. So knock everything and you wouldn't have the pain and your thoughts wouldn't be as rambled.
So, it sounds to me like, obviously you had this very confused experience of pain.
Yeah.
Very confused.
And the reason why the pain was there was from stress.
Yeah.
And the body's telling me to slow down.
Yeah. And you were using it to zone out from your anxiety.
Yeah. So the body was telling. The mind and body's the one thing. I think everyone gets confused, mind and body being separate.
Same deal.
The body's going, you've got pain here. You need to address this. And then I suppose you can get into the whole thing of what I work with the horses is awareness, relaxation, and acceptance. So essentially, I wasn't being aware of the anxiety. No. I was burying that.
Yeah. The level of understanding with its origin and how and your programming and the impact that had on your day-to-day interaction with the world, not great.
No.
Yep.
No. So that went on, and I did get hip surgery, and it didn't fix it, it didn't, and I just went on from there, kept on using opioids, and it was just a normal thing. I'm not sure. I think my wife Karen did have some idea, but I was operational.
And you would have gone to great lengths to hide it.
Oh, for sure.
Were you very good at that?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Just very organised. Super organised. I suppose.
Highly motivated.
Yeah, had to be prepped for the next day for how much you had, or weeks coming, or what the day's activities were, work around everything. The crappy bit is, and I feel really bad for it now, I got a heavy rigid truck licence. And I was operating a heavy rigid truck with a fair bit of codeine in my system.
Yeah.
But I wasn't tired. I was still...
Yeah, you were functioning very well.
Functioning extremely well.
Yeah, and no one would have known.
Yeah, probably as in functioning extremely well. When I say that, doing my day-to-day tasks.
Yeah.
But still internalising all that emotion, pushing it deep down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about high-functioning alcoholics, right?
Yeah.
So high-functioning, addicted to to the codeine.
Yeah.
And did you have any thoughts during that of, where this is going to go? Is this a case of, okay, this is me for life, or there's a point I'm going to have to
that
end
is the
this?
crappiest bit. Is like, I know, because when you stop that you get dope sick, and that's the worst thing.
So that's withdrawals.
Withdrawals are crappy.
Okay.
So,
you hadn't experimented. You just knew that was there.
I'd tried to stop.
Had you?
Yeah.
Had you?
So think of your worst flu you've ever had. Times that by 2. Throw absolute hot colds on top of that again. It's excruciating. You know that movie?
I'm sorry, you didn't sell it. I don't think the cold's so bad. Hot cold.
No, like I'm talking sweats.
So full-on body
sweats. And then
sweats.
freezing.
Okay, yeah. Fevers.
And then tremoring.
colds,
It feels
sweat.
like skin crawling. So that movie, Walk the Line, Johnny Cash, have you seen that?
No.
And they show, I think it's Joaquin Phoenix.
Anytime you ask me if I've seen a movie, shoom no. I'm terrible.
He does the withdrawal thing on that movie. And it's, compare what he looks like he's going through, that's what you go through.
Okay, hey, I'm not presuming to have a clue.
It's rubbish. So it's either that's an anxiety in itself.
Yeah.
And not knowing.
It would be scary. It would be
extremely.
Hear my tummy? It would be very, very scary because you'd feel out of control. It's quite torturous. It would be horrible. Yeah. So you tried it and then went, no, can't do this, went back.
Several times, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So
were you thinking, look, I'm just going to stick at this?
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to put my head in the sand and not have that conversation?
A lot of head in the sand.
Right.
Yeah. And quite interesting, I broke my leg training a horse. So after I'd finished my canvas business, I went into my love, which was training horses. And I think 18 months in, I broke my leg.
So how were you with relating to horses when you were not
I found it
sober? You know what I mean? You had the drugs in your system, you were relating to horses.
Yeah, the training back then was very different.
Sure.
The training then was the traditional training that I was brought up with, and what I call that mechanical type training. So it's similar to our school system with kids. Yeah. Sit down, shut up. This is what you do and told.
I will, put that on you.
Yeah. So there's no asking.
Impose that on you.
Yeah. There's no, and you can be. And when I say that, I was never to horses. You don't have to be, even with that method of training. You don't have to be physical. You can just be mentally make something really hard over here and make it easier there. And it's basically not asking the horse's opinion and are you okay with that?
Yeah.
So that was the style of training. So it's very good for customers to hand a horse on like that because they don't have to put any emotion into it, and it's just like push button. Yeah. If this happens, you do that. So the interaction I had with the horse probably suited that at the time, as in I could still function very well doing that.
Okay. And how did you hurt your leg?
Broke my leg. So
where did you break it?
Oh, so what do you call the one from your knee to your down there, knee to your foot, the tibia?
Tibia. I'm going for tibia.
So there's 2 bones in there. So I broke both of them, like snap cleaned them.
Of course you did.
Yeah. So I got swung around into a steel post, and my poor kids were there at the time, and
they saw Daddy go snap.
Yeah, and I said, kids, I've broken my leg, and they didn't believe me. And I said, yeah, it's broken.
Wasn't there a visual clue?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My cowboy boot basically kept it from coming out of the skin. So, yeah. So that was it. But that was the weirdest thing because 2 weeks after that, I come off all opioids.
Oh my gosh!
So I did it at the worst time when I had a major injury.
Join the dots for me. First of all, they would have gone, "Oh, we're going to give you some drugs," and you would have gone, "Yeah, that's not."
And
touching
I did.
me.
I did. So actually, that was probably really dangerous on my behalf because
they didn't know your baseline.
No, and I'd already taken a lot that day, and then they had to. I think they ketamined me because to get me in the ambulance, they had to straighten the leg. So I was pretty much like a semi-anaesthetised state. So they, poor buggers, they didn't know that I'd already taken some sort of medications that day.
Sure.
But anyway, so ended up with compartment syndrome, which is lack of blood to that So I had a major operation on that. But 2 weeks after, I thought, I'm at home. I can't do any work. I may as well just grab the bull by the horns and knock this opioid crap in.
Why?
I'd had enough.
Why?
I was sick of it all. Like, you get over it. Like, I was so tired of the.
So you were at crunch time. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm just saturation.
I was sick of myself.
Fed up. That's it.
Yep, sick of myself, and did the thing at home, come off them.
So there you are in bed with a broken leg, having withdrawals.
Yeah. Having the creepy crawlies all over my body.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was not nice. I told Karen what was happening. I said, I'm going to be pretty cruel.
Can I just make the point that when you break your leg, they give you pain relief for a legitimate reason?
Yeah.
Did you not have it then?
I did up until then, so that was 2 weeks after I broke my leg. I said, no, it's all over, sorry.
So you stopped having pain medication 2 weeks after breaking your leg?
Yeah, and after a rod went, so I got a rod in there, still in there now with screws and stuff.
Okay, did you need pain medication at that point? Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I thought, no, I'm going
It
to
hurts
do
me.
it.
How did you go with the pain? Or were you too distracted by the withdrawal to deal with the pain?
Probably that, and I think the pain, like I said earlier, the opioids make you think you got pain anyway. So that pain, it didn't even hurt when I broke my leg.
Oh my gosh. Seriously?
Like, I didn't yell out. I rang the triple.
Did you say, hey kids?
Yep, that's what I said. And I rang the ambulance and I said, he said, how can you help you? And I said, I've broken my leg. I said, you've broken your leg? How do you know you've broken your leg? I tried to stand up and my leg went sideways in my boot. And they didn't believe me that all.
You're too composed, sir.
But I didn't have any pain. And the pain medication I had taken was way earlier in the day. So that had worn off. But the pain, what I'm trying to say is the pain that the opioids tell you when you have withdrawals
was higher than the real pain of breaking your leg.
Exactly.
That says so much.
It's telling your body to take more. It is crazy stuff. And that's how easy it is. And I said I'd never be one of those people. Never be one of those people.
Well, you've never smoked. You didn't take Panadol. No. I believe you.
Yeah. And it is so easy to get in that little trap.
Yeah.
One thing leads to another, and before you know it, it's grabbed you.
It's incredibly common for people to have a medical condition and be given addictive pain relief.
Yeah.
And not comprehend that when they get through their medical complication, they then have to wean themselves of that drug.
I hate quoting numbers and not checking it, but last time I heard, I think 60% of Australians are on some sort of pain medication, opioid based. It's huge. It was 60 or 50 because I remember thinking 5 people.
Either way, big statistic.
It was a big statistic.
So you're talking about some sort of codeine.
Yeah, well, codeine,
But I mean, everyone, we're in Australia, obviously. Codeine has gone off the shelves. You need a script now.
Yep.
So maybe that was a statistic before that.
Maybe.
Legislation.
But look at poor old America with their opioid epidemic.
Yes.
That's that's the same thing. We were going down the same track. Well, actually, we did go down the same track without it getting the media.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I don't think everyone realises how common it is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But as I know now, it was a coping mechanism. I had a problem, didn't know what to do with it, and that solved it.
Yep.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
Temporarily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which the next part, I reckon, was worse. So...
Okay, so here you are recovering from your leg.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone off the opioids.
Mm-hmm.
Enormous achievement. Where were you then?
I was going all right. So I actually went back to work. I was back on a horse within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because you have one of those moon boots.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, so I was back
crazy.
On. So yeah,
is that your work ethic or your love for horses?
I think it's the love for the horse.
Well, that's a bit of a better reason.
But also probably a coping mechanism as in not being able to sit still.
Yep.
That was also, not being able to be mindful.
Sure.
So, and yeah, that's when the alcohol stepped in. I'd always drunk a bit, like, I'd have me beers of an afternoon after work, one of those guys. But I've never been the violent drunk. I've never been the abusive guy. I'm the happy-go-lucky guy.
Or depressive?
That's the depressive. That's the bad bit. So I'm the depressive guy. And
Depressive drinking guy.
later on in life. So
Okay.
after the opioids. Before that, I was the party guy, you know.
Yeah,
Having great times. Things were always great.
yeah.
But that's when the alcohol overtook the opioids, because the brain was still wanting that dopamine hit.
Yes.
And that's what you get from both of those.
And it was your coping mechanism. Reach for something, disappear, numb myself.
Yep.
It'll be okay.
Yep.
What was the time frame between coming off the codeine and reaching for alcohol?
Pretty close.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you know you were doing it as you did it? That you were replacing?
Within a couple of weeks I did.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was, I reckon the alcohol was just as hard to get off once, because back in the day, like teenagers and as a young fella, like through my business, never had a problem with it. Like it wasn't something I had to have.
Yeah. Social, not drink, not drink alone so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after the opioids, after my broken leg,
which was a secretive taking codeine, therefore secretive use of alcohol. Yeah,
that's when
repeat.
that did. So,
yeah,
and it really put a strain on my family. Then there was changes in my depression got worse. So, I mean, the alcohol was there, like we said, coping mechanism. It's just turn off the brain, like to stop those absolute rambling thoughts. Have that. I've heard one guy say, it's just like a little holiday from your brain. You know, it's just and another
on
guy's,
repeat, on repeat.
Yeah,
it's also a holiday from your family, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
because you disconnect. You're not you're not sober.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, that's an interesting thing you said about disconnect from family. That was what's happening through. Sorry to skip that.
No, good.
Through my business, because I was so fixated on and busy at work, I wasn't present. And I'd get home and eat dinner, but I wasn't there. I was back at the workshop.
Yep.
So I can't remember my daughter Sophie from, I remember her first 2 weeks of life, but I can't really put the dots together up until 5 or 6 year old. And she's 14 now. Yeah. So I wasn't there. Yeah. I wasn't mentally or emotionally there. I was off at work.
And can I say that is absolutely no reflection of your character, your value system. It's not. Your heart. You are the most beautiful, heartfelt, loving guy. And you are, so devoted to your family. So that is just, completely out of character. You're not one of those
doing the right thing. You think you're providing for the family. You're making a life for yourself.
You're lost in the woods, aren't you? You've completely lost perspective.
Yeah.
What matters? You're part of the rat race.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
You've started this thing. You've got to make it a success. You're doing. Yeah. I'm working for the family.
Yeah. Yes. And that's in society. That's. Oh, you work hard, you'll get there. You work hard, you'll get there. It's got nothing to do with that.
No. And the kids are like, well, we don't want you to be a worker. We want you to be our dad. No,
that's it. And it just seems like that's how things operate now. It's just like, yep, get to here, get to there, push. And we forget about being present in the moment, being mindful.
I mean, hey, I had a conversation the last couple of days with a dad who's saying, well, I can't get home till 7, and kids go to bed at 7:30. And I'm saying, well, when you're a single parent next week, you're going to have the kids half the time and you're going to have to finish at 3 o'clock. So let's figure something out.
Yep.
Cut the crap.
Yep.
Where are your priorities?
Yep.
I'm often not very popular.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't care. No, but you just got to call it. People get lost and they don't mean to.
Yeah.
They don't mean to. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just,
Yeah. So, that was the other thing, but like you said, the alcohol, you're just not present. You're not totally emotionally there. And the offshoot was that depression. So, and it's so funny. People don't realise, you think and actually the science behind this as well, everyone chills out with a drink. But actually increases anxiety right then and there.
Why is that?
I can't remember the science, but if you look it up, that's exactly what happens. Plus, the next day, my anxiety is off the Richter scale, regardless of how much I drank.
Yeah. Well, alcohol's, the main ingredient in anesthetic is alcohol.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So it is a depressive.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of I do it to relax and feel better. No, it's more complex than that.
Yeah. So, the next day the anxiety was up, and then you go on that same thing of, just have a drink early in that afternoon. That way my confidence up, be able to make phone calls and get my work done. So, I was semi-functioning.
Yep. Yep. And was your beautiful wife aware?
Yes.
Of this?
Yeah, she knew.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that, get off alcohol without her. And
yeah.
I'm sure it was really at its wit's end with her, really at its wit's end. And went through other suicide attempts that were at the end of, like, putting things together really well, like putting the practical things together to make that happen.
So a really clear plan, action.
Yeah, and stuff in place. And Karen was able to pull me up.
Which, again, you love your wife.
Yeah.
You love your children. You actually love your profession.
Yeah.
And you're not wanting to be here.
No. You just think it's going to be so much better for them without you there.
Because you've got such a negative view of yourself, your liability.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, when you're that depressed, you become so altered in your thinking, you're not rational anymore.
No.
So it's a little bit like talking to someone with psychosis who's on another planet.
Yep.
And, you don't give them the keys to the car, do you? You say, no, you're not actually functioning well. So it's the same with someone who's acutely suicidal. They just, they can't reason.
No. So one thing I do want to make clear to people is both opioids, drug addiction, alcohol, well, it could be any food addiction, could be work addiction. Okay, I was there too. Work addiction. We didn't.
Yeah.
They're symptoms. They're not. I think people think that the alcohol is a thing, and you got to treat that.
Oh, they're dysfunctional coping mechanisms.
Yes.
What are you
symptoms.
coping?
Exactly.
With regard to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the most important is the things behind that, and things I had to unpack. Yeah.
And you did a great job of that.
Well, still working. Like, still, you got to be persistent with it.
So that's a lot of going and working out the inside workings.
Yep.
Working out what the core is causing the anxiety, causing the self-doubt, causing the depressive thought.
Yep.
And actually fix it from the inside out. So you don't have this excruciating pain that you're needing to reach for a coping mechanism for.
Exactly.
You're actually in a good spot.
Yep. So this is where, well,
I love how you just brushed over that. That was enormous.
Yeah.
There you go. Everyone, round of applause. No, we do have that button.
Yeah.
Do you know it? No? There you know. We have these really fun buttons we never get to use. Let's not use the birds.
No, not that's
Tweaking. Sorry.
So yeah, that was it was interesting. It was probably pretty much before I broke my leg, things in my horse training started to change.
Like what?
The stuff that you were showing me
Yeah.
and the stuff I was learning.
Yep.
And what my horse business now is, I get a lot of traumatized horses.
So what does that mean?
That means horses that, well, it could present as, my horse is walking along the trail and then he shies at something and he jumps out, or
So anxious.
Or he can't float, he does this, or he half bucks and rears, and
So fear response.
or bite or strike.
Yeah, aggression because he's fearful.
Yep. So
We could work together.
we could.
Probably do.
You'd be fascinated. So this stuff started going. I'm going, well, wow. Wonder if this will work for them.
Were you thinking I can relate to these horses?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
I was thinking, if I felt that confined, like I'm a bit claustrophobic, if I felt that confined and this happened to me, that'd be the worst nightmare.
So you're empathising with the horses.
Absolutely empathising.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then I started employing things like learn about Polyvagal Theory, which is being in the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, and the sympathetic being freeze,
Fight, flight, faint,
all
freeze.
those.
So that threat response and panic response, I'm in danger.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the symptoms, the coping mechanisms is, you shouldn't. This animal behaviouralists and scientists don't want you to compare human emotion to horse emotion or animal emotion, but we're all creatures for connection.
Why don't they want us to do that? Because I actually,
there's a word for it, isn't it?
I'm not
anthropomorphism. I don't know.
anthropological.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we are fundamentally creatures that are trying to survive. You know, and animals respond with the same fight, flight, faint, freeze. They have the same amygdala, the same threat response, the same parasympathetic nervous system. So I completely disagree. The difference in adults, humans, is there's a lot to it, but we can spend time anticipating, contemplating, getting worried, whereas animals theoretically are far more in the present.
Yeah, you're right.
Theoretically.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yep.
Doesn't take away from the fact that that's their response in that moment.
No.
Yep.
But, so yeah, actually a horse that I've got at the moment, his coping mechanism, I compare him very much to me. So was a racehorse. Well, didn't go to full race, but he did a full race prep. And he does a thing called wind sucking, or cribbing. So he grabs a rail with his teeth and he takes these big suck-in breaths. It actually can cause all sorts of bad things. One, wrecking his teeth. The other thing is colic, and it goes on from there. It's a coping mechanism. People used to say it's about boredom. It's got nothing to do with boredom. So the way I see wind sucking and cribbing, or even pacing a fence, it's the coping mechanism for some sort of trauma which has happened. So he's lacked some connection previous, and whenever things arise in energy or there's a worry, you can see him click in and he'll go straight to that wind suck. And I compare that to me. Like that.
What's your wind suck?
My wind suck was the opioids.
Wow.
And the alcohol.
I'm going to reach for something and disappear.
Reach for something. Yeah, it's a way of just going on holidays. And that's what you can see. His eyes go spacey. This horse's eyes go spacey.
But what does he get out of it? What does he get out of grabbing onto
it? It's a dopamine hit.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know why the dopamine hit, but that's when they grab it. They go into this zone, and there's actually been proven there's a dopamine hit behind that.
Well, you know, when people self-harm,
yep,
they dissociate.
Yep.
You know, they have something that gets the vagal nerve going, which is part of that sympathetic nervous system.
Exactly.
And they disappear. It's like time out. So that could be what's happening.
Yep.
You know, if he does something to hurt himself.
Yep. So you can see it. So what I work with all these horses is, one is redirection of thought. So this is what I do. So redirections of thoughts, and mindfulness. So I get my horses to meditate.
Oh, talk to me.
So I think it's really cool with horses. They're the masters of body language. So you can see them. You can actually, if you know what you're looking for, you can see them come out of the sympathetic into the parasympathetic so easily.
Well, I can see it in humans.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, you're better than me at that, obviously. But yeah, so you'll go from a fixed eye, a really bulged eye, that the skin even looks tense.
Yeah.
And then if you bring it back in and you get him with you with the moment, you'll start blinking. And the blinking will get more prevalent, and then the lip starts quivering. Then you'll get a lick in the chew. The lick in the chew is like the horse trainer's gold there.
Which means what?
There actually is science behind that, which chemical changes in the brain. So we're coming further down through that parasympathetic zone.
Yeah, and everyone parasympathetic is when we're kicking into the calm state, the calm nervous system, and we're kicking into, serotonin.
Exactly.
Happy neurochemical.
Oxytocin.
Natural antidepressants,
So you look at those, and oxytocin, serotonin and dopamine,
yep,
they're all hugely responsible for connection, relationships, learning, memory retention. All those are huge. I think serotonin gets reduced 90% when they're in the sympathetic. Reduced by 90% when they're in the sympathetic.
Yeah.
The holy grail, which I often want it too much, is the yawn. So these horses will go into yawn stage.
Massive release. Yeah.
It's incredible to watch. And you can actually, when they get good at it, they actually draw to it like a magnet. And then they start making associations between situations, so me being the situation and doing it.
Yeah.
I just can associate that with what I do, like my mindfulness. And I work on my mindfulness every day. And I just don't do a meditate in the morning. I'll work on redirection of thought all through the day.
Can you elaborate what that means for people who've never heard of this language?
So I reckon when I go to do a clinic, I say meditation, it scares the crap out of people. And they say, I think the common thing is, I tried that and it's just too hard.
Yeah, I can't focus.
Look up the Google search for the definition of meditation. And all meditation says on Google definitions, it says to concentrate on one particular thing or object for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
You can focus on your fingernail.
You could.
You could.
So, a lot of it's breath work a lot of the time, and that's good. I use my breath one a lot of the time.
Didn't you say you play one of my meditation YouTubes?
Yep.
That's
exactly.
So cool.
There's heaps of great ones.
Not for the horses, for the owners.
Well, that's another story. There's so many different ways to do it. But one of my questions, I reckon this is probably a really good tip that I do. I always evaluate a thought. So, and the simple question is this thought useful? Is this going to help?
Yeah. Yeah, is it
and
helpful
most of the time it's like, no.
And moving on. You're not worth my time.
No. So it's as simple as that. And that's being mindful during the day. Is this thought useful?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
I often like to think of thoughts as ideas. Yeah. It's like a brainstorm of ideas. And obviously they come from, yesterday's ideas and the day before that.
Yeah.
Because they're on repeat.
Yeah.
And also they come from our background. They come from our fears.
Yeah.
With regard to the past and the future, but they are just this brainstorm of ideas.
Yeah.
And then you can go, well, I'll pick the good ones. I'll pick the constructive ones, the rational ones, the helpful ones.
Yeah.
I'm not going to grab all of them because a lot of them are very, very dysfunctional, bad habits, irrational. Move past. Keep moving, people.
Exactly.
Keep moving, people.
Exactly. The other one you've talked to me about is very important for the next... Well, when I work with the horses is being aware. And when I say that, aware of all emotions. Yep. So the emotions that I think as a bloke in Australia is, you're not supposed to cry. And you've told me crying should be like going to the toilet. It just should happen.
That sounds like me.
Yeah. And
it's true. It's a natural release.
And it's like the yawn in the horse.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be questioned. It should just happen. But you're taught to bury it. And you just can't bury emotions. They're going to surface in some respect. And that's what happens with the horses too.
Yeah.
So if you bury something and sit down, shut up and don't respond, it's going to come out later on.
Yeah.
It come out with me later on through anxiety, depression, alcohol and opioids.
Yep.
It's going to surface at some stage.
And almost losing your life on many occasions. Very scary.
Yeah. So it's gonna surface. So first be aware. You gotta sit with that emotion and every emotion, just not the good ones or the happy. And you've got to be aware of the crappy ones.
Yeah.
I feel anxious. I feel really angry.
Yeah.
And you got to, okay, how does that feel?
I mean, like, think about when we caught up, tonight when you rocked in. First thing I said, oh man, crap day.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Crap day. And I straight away, told you I did have an interesting day.
Yeah.
And I went, this is where I'm at.
Yep.
This is it.
Yep.
Boom, 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 boom. And I wasn't having a bitch and moan, but I was saying, I'm not okay. This is the emotions I've been through. And this is valid and this is reasonable. And I'm going to just, process that and be real about that.
Yeah.
There's not a case of I've got to be okay. I'm not okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to become okay because I'm just going to work that through.
My wife's very good at that too. She likes to vent and she'll get it out there and she's fine.
Yep.
But back in the day, ask him how he was going or how was your day? Oh, great. Yes, really good.
And then it'd be, how are you?
Yes.
Moving on.
Exactly. And you'll see that through a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, awareness, be totally aware, relax, and then acceptance. So that's what I work with the horses as well. So if I'm doing a first-time saddle on a horse, you first got to get him aware because sometimes he'll check out in the situation. People do this. He'll be looking over there or looking over here. He won't he won't be present with that saddle going on. He'll be aware it's sort of there,
Yeah.
but it'll be better off to look over elsewhere or crib the rail, like chew the rail or move around really quickly.
So he's not really engaging in that moment with you.
And people do the same.
Which is, they do. So that's the horse not
Yep.
getting genuinely comfortable because it's kind of disappearing to cope.
And it's easier just to check out of the situation.
Yep.
And then what I chase then is the relaxation. So I chase the licks, the chews, the blinks.
So what do you do to connect and relate to the horse, to ground it, bring it back, make it present, and go back into that parasympathetic nervous system?
Can I pull you up?
Go.
Him or her?
What did I say?
It. Sorry, I'm really fussy on that because I hear people do it. And they're beings there.
Oh, I love it.
Him or her, sorry. So you can do it. It can be a redirection of thought. So same as what I'd do.
Yep.
So I can redirect her attention, and it can be really minor, but just taking that horse's head by the head collar, just turning his head. Or sometimes you might have to step the energy up a little bit and go, hey, I'm over here. And then you try to hold attention till you get that slight letdown. And then you'll see then the acceptance will come in.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The other one I work on is my acronym called SHUFF. SHUFF. Seen, heard, understood and felt.
Seen, heard, understood, felt.
Yep. So if you're a person and you got one of those friends that talks all the time, and never does any listening, and if you said you're part of the story, they just shun you and they don't really listen to you.
Yeah.
You don't connect.
No.
So with these horses, it's the same thing. So you look for, I work on try to walk to the side of a horse. It can be simple as that. And he might put his head slightly, and people have pushed his head away and not listened to it. And really what's happening is that horse is worried about you going down the side of him.
Yeah.
So you see those things, you hear them, and you try to understand and feel them.
Yeah, yeah.
And people are the same.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, seen, heard, understood. You can just I've had horses go down to that full letdown just by minor things of they know that you know, that you've seen that.
Yep.
And I think people do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very interesting, isn't it?
It's cool.
Like I do that in session. I might have something going on like today, and I can feel myself kicking into my sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
I can feel that wiry feeling, which is not where I'm normally at, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm normally a pretty chill.
That'd be unusual. I'd like to see that actually.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And I walk into the room, the clinical room, and the client's there with their issues, anxiety, depression, different clinical issues, and I'm very mindful that I need to be a calming force.
Takes a lot of energy to do that, mate.
Yeah, and I have to think, okay, now I really need to, but I'm very good at compartmentalising. I'm very good at parking the issue, leaving it at the other side of the door.
Right.
And focusing completely on the client, becoming completely consumed in that moment with what's in the room and what we're doing, and bringing myself down, calming myself down. And then they're able to match me with that. But if I'm wired, I can't get them to feel calm and contained, to feel safe, to get into that vulnerable stuff.
Yeah.
And I definitely can't calm them down in their anxiety.
How do you physically do that? When you do step in this door, in the door to your patient, and how do you change that thought to that? How do you do that?
Well, I very much acknowledge where I'm at.
Okay.
Very much acknowledge that I'm in that sympathetic and I'm wired.
Yep. So awareness.
Yep.
Yep.
And then I decide these issues that are causing that I will address later, not now.
Yep. So you don't physically do a little breeze or anything like that? Do you change your breath?
You know what? I've been doing it for so long. I think I'm very natural at it.
Okay.
I think I just naturally do lots of exhaling. Yeah. Of course, which is very much grounding. Yeah. So, I do definitely. And then I just throw myself into that client's headspace and their world, and I just completely distract.
Yep. Redirect.
Yep. And with genuine intention of this is their time, not my time. Yeah. Let's go. The slight exception to that is if I'm actually in a really good place, and then I think to myself, I really want to cover a lot quickly in this session.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I've got 10 minutes, but I really want to get this in. And so then I go back into my sympathetic nervous system, but it's not from a point of anxiety or stress, it's pressure. And, you know, that's just me being human.
Yes.
You know, when you're rushing to run out the door, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can't really overcome that, really, because if I stay in my calm state, I'm not going to achieve as much. So anyway, I'm talking fine details there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a problem.
Yeah.
But I'm mindful. I'm very aware of where I'm at.
Yeah. I'm working on that that instant tap on, tap off stuff.
Yeah.
I've probably been very good. I think I've done it to you when I've walked in some days where I've just super smiley, Kim, super happy is the hidden one.
Yeah.
And that's all I've done to change it. But I've got to work on being able to being more aware of what's going on instead of just shoving it down, which the smiley Kim does.
Yeah. So leave the smiley at the door.
Yeah. And I'm working on that with myself was the same thing with the horses again.
Yeah.
Exposure therapy. And I've taken it from human psychology. So I do I do this with the horses, so I expose a little bit. So I'll think at home of something awful happening, anxious happening, and then I'll bring my breath rate down and get comfortable with it. And then hopefully I'm going to work towards getting closer and closer to tapping on, tapping off.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that heightening and what do you do? Habituate, don't you? Habituation.
You do. I have got this a skill set that I've learned over time where the more pressured a situation is, the more I ground myself and actually become incredibly calm. If I'm really, really calm in a state of stress, I've identified it as being very stressful, and I'm actively grounding myself and working very carefully to kind of just be quite controlled in that. Yeah. Good in a crisis.
The one that I've used on pre-anxiety attacks when I'm not going to have an anxiety attack.
Let's talk about anxiety attacks. Well,
scariest things ever.
Yeah. So how old were you? What's your frequency, and are they all different or similar?
Have been different depending on situations. First one was must have been 2012 or 13. I didn't know what was going on. Didn't have any idea, and it was the breath, the starving of air, not being able to breathe, all that, like the room was closing in, did not know.
Head spinning, completely overwhelmed, not breathing, not getting enough exhaling in truth.
Exactly, exactly. And they have varied from, they're similar, I'd say, along the
heart pounding.
Yeah, all that, like absolute, racing.
Racing, yes, through your chest.
Yes. I haven't had one for a long time now.
That's great.
And it's through mindfulness.
Yeah.
Like I'm not on any medication now. I don't have any anxiety medication, depression medication. It's all through, getting rid of alcohol as well. That's a big no-no for depression and anxiety to me, that you just can't do it. And it's just been mindfulness and watching what I eat and you.
Thank you, Don. And in the last month, what would you say your mood state is, as a bit of a kind of a rough kind of like summary rating? What's your mood state?
Has been awesome.
Yeah. Self-made. The self-made is awesome.
Still working on it.
It's always a work in progress.
I think you need to, because I noticed it with the horses too. The horse with the wind sucking thing, he had a bit of time off, so he's doing no mindfulness. His wind sucking got worse.
Yeah.
So you need to practice it.
Yeah.
It's the brain's a muscle.
It is, literally.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you got to work it out.
Yep.
Yeah. So I can't say it enough. It's mindfulness, meditation. It's just the best thing ever.
Yep. And just to clarify for everybody, mindfulness being aware of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what's happening for you, taking some level of control with that.
Yep.
And meditation is the capacity to concentrate and to focus your mind, which then increases your capacity to quieten your thoughts and to have more of a decision over your approach to your thinking. Beautifully
put.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
Just want to summarise.
It's beautiful.
The academic in me came out.
It's perfect. Yeah. That's the secret to it.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy to be human and not be in control of your mind. as much as we can be.
Yeah.
Degrees of work in progress,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's so easy to get out of control with it.
It is.
Yeah.
So now you get to focus on your beautiful family.
Yes. Yes.
And they get to have a dad that's figured out so much stuff.
And they get sick of me talking about it, I think.
Do you?
Stuff. Well,
Do
I
they?
do. I share everything with them about, okay, when I feel this way, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And this is how good meditation is. And both of them do meditate. Both of my kids do meditate.
How old are they?
Josh is 16 and Sophie's 14.
There you go.
So Soph's really going well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That's wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Well, on that beautiful note, loving family and being able to bring it back to them. Isn't that great? I mean, they talk about changing a cycle. How about just bringing it to a whole new level of functioning?
Thank you. Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kim. Everybody, I have just so enjoyed this conversation. And when we were talking about our topic, we were thinking, how do we include everything? How do we include anxiety, depression, opioids, alcohol, and horse psychology? So we just put it in the title.
Yep.
I think we did well.
I think it was awesome. Thank you very much. I just hope that information can help other people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so many people can relate to, so many portions of that pie.
Yeah.
They all come together.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's so much fun.
Oh,
I say that.
excellent.
I really mean it.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, you take care, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, I better do do you like doing social media?
I can do it for you.
Oh,
Kirsten.
go Kim. Go Kim. I'm handing over the paper. Everybody, this is my least favourite part.
Okay, you can find Kirsten at kirstenhunterauthor.com. Her Facebook page is Kirsten Hunter Author. Instagram handle is Kirsten Hunter Author. And she's got a Twitter account at Kirsten Hunter AU. And then YouTube channel, Psych in the Car. More podcasts available every Sunday. Signpost for Living with Dr. Kirsten Hunter.
So good. You did well. Everyone, if you want to jump on and if you've got any comments, questions, areas you want me to jump into, we'll see what we can do. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you, Kirsten.
You're awesome.
You're awesome.